Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another programming video. Let me first open. Okay. So today we are going to talk about group by in Pandas explained for beginners. And we are actually going to talk about certain functions in this specific video. And we are actually going to learn one of the most um, useful and most frequently asked topics in Pandas, which is group by. Okay. I've received many requests asking me to explain group by in detail. So today we'll understand it from scratch. And I hope by the end of this video, you'll know why we use group by, how it works, and how to use it to summarize data in just one line of code. Okay. So let's begin. And also, I'll try to create two parts of this because I think group by uh, cannot be understood in just one video. Let's first understand why do we need group by. Okay, before writing any code, let's understand the problem that group by solves. All right. Now, suppose your manager gives you an Excel file containing information about thousands of employees. I have taken these 6 employees for the sake of this video. Okay. So let's say you have those Excel files and data looks something like this only. All right. You have 3 columns, employee, department, salary, and you have 6 rows. Right. Now, suppose your manager asks you a simple question. Can you tell me the average salary of employees in each department? Now, these are only 6 rows. If, let's say, you are working in a company, there might be hundreds and thousands of rows. Okay. And you have to find what? You have to find the average salary of employees in each department. Right. How would you do it manually? Manually, you would first separate all HR employees, then you'll have to separate all IT employees, then all sales employees, right? And after that, you'd calculate the average salary for each group. Okay, again, for 6 rows, it might be, it seems, easier. But if you have, let's say, 20,000 rows of data, it would take a lot of time. And this is exactly where GroupBy helps us. Instead of grouping the data ourselves, Pandas can do it automatically. Okay. So what exactly is GroupBy? It is a function in Pandas that groups rows having the same value in a particular column. After creating these groups, we can perform calculations on each group separately. Okay. For example, instead of calculating the average salary of all employees, we can calculate average salary of HR employees first, then we'll calculate average salary of IT employees, average salary of sales employees, all with just one line of code, right? Think of GroupBy as creating small teams inside your data. Every employee belonging to the HR department forms one team. Every employee belonging to the IT department forms another team, and so on. And once these teams are created, we can ask questions about each team. Okay, let's try to understand it with the help of a code. Let me create a new file. First, I'll try to uh, import pandas as PT. I'll just try to write, piece of code. Um, let's maybe we have to create 3 columns. So first one will be, let's say, employee. And in this, suppose I have Asha and I also have Ravi. Then I have John. Who else was there? Let me see the names first. Okay, John. Then we have Neha and Arjun. And we have Sarah. Okay. And now what we need? We need department. So let's go with that. We have HR, IT, HR, sales. So for department also, I'll go with this. We have HR, we have IT again, HR again, and sales. Okay. And what else do we have? Salary. So for salary, what was the salary? 55,000, 60, 65, 50. Okay. So for salary, we have 45,000, 60,000, 65,000, 50, and 55, and 58. Okay, yeah. Okay. So we have all this, right? Let me just write it like this. So it's, easier to understand. All right. Now, this is what we have. And like we did in the first, um, if you remember, in the very first lecture on pandas, we did how to, all this, how to print it out. So I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to save it. Let me save it here only. Okay. I'll just write it maybe group by file, and then I'll save it and I'm going to run it. PF is not defined. PF. Oh, I'm sorry. I needed to write PD. I'll save it again and I'll run it again. Okay. So this is the table that I've got. All right. This is a table that contains employee names, department names, and their salaries. Okay. Now, before using GroupBy, let's observe something. Which departments do we have? We have HR, IT, and sales. Now, notice that some departments appear uh, more than once. All the departments actually appear more than once. And because when we have, things like that in our data sheets, that's when we need GroupBy, because we need to create teams or we need to create groups. Right. Because if, let's say, all the departments had different names, why do I need to create groups? Since there are similar departments, we can create a team for each. We can create a group for each. And that's why we need group by, because it groups together rows having the same department. Okay. Now, as we know, um, what is the basic syntax of group by? This is the basic syntax of group by. Okay, let me just write it like this. Department. Okay, now let's understand this carefully. This again, this is what? This is our data frame, right? We did this earlier. Group by, this tells pandas that we want to create groups. Okay, and department, this is a specific name of the column. We specify the column based on which we want to create those groups. And in this case, the column is department. So I want to create groups, or I want to create teams based on department, based on these names, right? Because we want groups by HR, IT, sales. So the column name is department. Okay. Now here's something important. Many beginners think that once I write this statement, GroupBy immediately calculates something. No, it doesn't. Let's think like pandas. What happens is, if I run this program now, df, if I run, this statement, df dot group by department, because we already have a table here. So let me just run it here. Okay. When I run this statement, what do you see happening? Do you think it calculated anything? No, because group by only creates the groups. The calculation happens when you start using functions. I'm not using any function here. Okay. Group by is only creating the groups. I need to add extra function like mean, sum, count, something. Okay. Since I haven't done that, when we run this function, group by department, what happens is pandas is internally thinking like this. Because I asked, we are asking group by department. So inside the memory, it starts creating these groups. So it has already created a group called HR, IT, and sales. It created the groups. Okay. Nothing has been added, nothing has been averaged or counted. It has only created groups. The calculation part, it comes later. And this is one of the biggest misunderstandings beginners have. It does not perform any calculation when we use group by. Okay. It creates uh, what actually happens is, now look at the output also. So when you run this statement, nothing happens, nothing gets, averaged or counted or created, calculated. Only groups are created, and it actually creates a group by object. Okay. Why does it do that? Think of it like, it is like pandas way of saying, okay, I've grouped the data by the department column. Now tell me what do you want me to do with these groups? Okay. This object has been created in the memory. Fine. It's like I used group by function and I told my assistant that I need to create the groups. You need to now create groups, or you need to separate all the employees by department. And let's say I told my assistant to do that, and my assistant replies, okay, done. I have created the groups. Now what to do with them? Right? So this is the function of group by. It will just create groups. It will not do anything else. Now let's understand how we can actually work on these groups. Okay, these groups. So to work on these groups, we have different functions. First of all, let's understand what these functions are. Number one function that we can discuss is mean function. Okay, now we are going to actually calculate something. So if, let's say, I want to calculate the mean of salaries of each department, what would I do? I would use the same statement, group by department. Now I can write the name of the column, which is salary, obviously, right? Because I want to find the mean of salaries. And then I will call mean function. Okay, now let's understand every part. First, Pandas groups all employees based on the department. Then we select only the salary column, right? So we got the salary. Then we calculate mean using mean function. Mean simply means average. Okay, now let me run this, and as you can see, the output, right? Instead of getting 6 salaries, you are getting average salary for each department. Okay. And this last statement actually, name salary D type float 64. It means the values you are looking at came from the salary column. It is, giving you that extra information. And this D type float 64, it means the output values are stored as floating point numbers. Okay. This was the first calculation. Now let's calculate some more. Um, let's maybe calculate, um, what shall we do? Okay, let's calculate sum. Okay, let's calculate total salary paid in each department. So for that, this statement remains the same. Instead of mean, I'm going to use sum. And if I run it, I'll find this. Okay, instead of average now, we are getting totals. Okay, we didn't change anything, we just changed the function, right? Another function, another uh, calculation we can work on is, again, same statement. Instead of sum, we will, let's say we want to do the count. We want to count how many employees each department has. Okay. Now, earlier we were working with salaries. Now we are trying to find out what? We are trying to find out number of employees, right? So instead of salary, I'll just change it to employee. Okay. And run it. So HR department has 2 employees, IT 2, sales 2, and then rest of the information. Do you see? It is telling you the number of employees in every department. Okay. So this is how you can use group by and different functions of it. And I also wanted to mention a few mistakes that I've seen, students make in the beginning. First of all, the very first mistake I've seen is, something that we talked about earlier, thinking that, group by performs calculations automatically. No, it doesn't. It only creates groups. If you actually want to perform calculations, you need to have extra functions, mean function, sum, count, max, min, all of these. Okay, that's the first mistake I've seen. Another mistake is whenever you are uh, performing a function like here, you have to choose the right column. Earlier we worked with salaries, then I changed the column name to employee. So you have to find the right column. Okay, if you want salaries statistics, you don't calculate the mean of employee names, right? So you have to choose a numerical column. So keep that in mind. Another thing, sometimes I've seen students don't really understand the output. Okay, try to understand that you are not working with an individual row now. The output now represents one row per group. We are using group by. Okay, so we are no longer working with individual employees. Fine. So that's all for this video. We talked about group by, why we need it, how groups are created, the common mistakes that students make, how you can calculate, mean, sum, count, and you can also try many other functions. I've only covered 3. You can try, many other functions with it. I hope it made sense. If it did, let me know. And if it didn't, let me know again. I would love to explain it one more time. And in the next video, I'd like to cover, more concepts related to group by.